Good morning, people. PTPOP on a gorgeous July 7th morning at 8:37 in the morning. It is a balmy 82 degrees here in Cleveland already. This is almost like living in Arizona. It's been really hot here. It's been up in the low 90s to mid 90s, which is hot for Ohio. And when it gets this hot, we have like 60 to 70% humidity, so the thermometer may say it is 95, but it feels the feel-like temperature is like 101, which is about 12 degrees cooler than Arizona, but it can be very uncomfortable. So I tried to go out now. We tried to go out and do stuff early in the morning before it warms up. We learned that in Arizona. In Arizona, everybody was up by like 5 in the morning, especially on the weekends, doing their lawns, weeding the garden, whatever outdoor work you had to do, going for their walks, walking the dogs. You couldn't walk the dogs after like 11 o'clock in the morning. So as I drive through my little suburbia here, my little white suburbia neighborhood, around me there's all these people with their split level homes, their colonial style homes. They've got their cars just freshly washed in the driveway. Mazdas, Subarus, Fords, Chevys. Lady just walking past me with a little Springer Spaniel. This is probably a very, I guess, middle class area I live in. Maybe slightly upper middle class. And I wonder how happy all these people are. I wonder how much happiness they really have. Like right here, here's a guy. He's got his camper, his Salem camper, his Forest River is the name of his thing. Forest River Salem camper. And it's always sitting in his driveway. You never see him take it anywhere. I don't know the man. But are these people happy? Do any of you have the quintessential or the perfect life that they told us we were all supposed to get? We're all supposed to have. And I know they sell this scenario to everyone around the Western world. I don't know about Eastern or in Japan and stuff. But here in America, it's very heavily expected that when you're very young, you see all these movies and TV shows. When I was a kid, it was Happy Days. When Joni met Chachi. I'm dating myself, and many of you that watch me probably have no idea what those shows even were, but it was always, portrayed that, boy meets girl at the sock hop, and they hold hands and they fall in love, and then they get a sitcom together. That's not part of the American dream. I'm just being silly, but everybody sells you this line of baloney that you're gonna meet a special someone, and you're gonna meet, your eyes are gonna meet from across the dance floor, and you're gonna float across the room and meet one another and dance and twerk and jerk and whatever it is kids do today, and fall madly in love and live happily ever after with, bluebirds carrying her wedding dress train down the aisle as somebody sings Zippity Doo Dah. It's the kind of crap I grew up with. And I always thought I was going to, have this wild, wonderful romance. And, I have a nice life. I married a great person. But we don't have some type of wild, this, darling, how are you today? I'm good, Peter, how are you? Shall I get you your toast now in bed? Yes, shall we go dancing tonight, my friend? Yes, then we'll, it's not like that. And I've got lots of friends who have been divorced at least once, some of them. but this isn't, I don't want to talk about marriage and stuff like that, but do any have this perfect life that they tell us we're supposed to have, or, you're supposed to go out. This is what life was supposed to be like. This is how I perceived it when I was a kid, like 15 to 18 years old. I thought I was going to meet this gorgeous woman, and we were going to fall madly in love in high school or in college, and we were going to just, Jesus Christ, you fucking asshole, on her fucking phone, almost T-boned me. Right, so obviously she has the perfect life, driving around in her Subaru on her cell phone. So this is what I thought was going to happen, because my parents met in college, but they're not who I was modeling my life after, because their marriage was a disaster, complete disaster. My dad was just a no-good drunk who never worked and just laid around, smashed out of his mind. My mom joined him for a while, but she sobered up in the mid-1970s. So I couldn't model my life after their life. I have an older brother who's 15 years older than me that basically left when he went to college. He was back briefly until 1976, but you rarely saw him when he lived around here. And I guess he had an okay marriage. I have no idea what he had, because he took off and moved to California, and none of us ever saw him again. I guess he had the right idea. He got the hell out of Dodge. You better not tailgate me, lady. Do not tailgate me, because I know you got someplace very important to go while you're on your cell phone. It's probably one of the nurses from the clinic. No, she's not driving a Subaru, she's driving a Caddy. She got herself a Cadillac. And she's still on her phone, and she's saying, I'm going to take my time at the stop sign here, make sure I look always before I turn, just to piss the fucking bitch off. Where'd she go? I've got another brother that got divorced about 14 years ago after 30 years of marriage. As far as I know, I think my sister and her husband are still married. At least they cohabitate. I don't know, Sue, if you're still married to Bob, but I think they're still living in the same house together. But I had this glorious idea that, like, okay, you go to college and you fill your mind with great knowledge from knowledgeable and wise professors, and you walk onto this campus, and you're thirsty for knowledge, you're thirsty for sex, you're thirsty for love, you're thirsty for all these things, and you get onto campus, and you're supposed to get all this knowledge, and you're supposed to meet the love of your life. You're going to walk on the campus, and you're going to meet some wonderful person, and you're just going to float across the campus together on warm autumn days wearing fuzzy sweaters, and then you're going to get a job after college and get married to the dream girl of your life, and just walk into you're going to walk off campus with your diploma in your hand, and companies are going to be begging you to come to work for them, and they're going to be showering you with money. and then you're going to go off and have 2.5 kids and get a golden retriever, and you're going to have ravenous sex every night with this woman that is the love of your life. And it's all just going to be great. And I would, not in this explicit, I wasn't this explicit with it when my mom was alive. I lived with my mom until she passed away when I was 26. And I would talk to her about, my being disillusioned about life and about romance and stuff. And she'd say, oh my God, and she'd always try to talk sense into me. I'd say, Peter, life doesn't work that way. I don't know what you're thinking, where you get these ideas from. Oh, I'm behind the police. Hello, police officer. Oh, he's turning around. Hopefully he's not coming for me. And she said, where do you get these ideas that, life doesn't work that way? I mean, she should know. My mom's life and my dad's life both were tragedies, just tragic. Complete tragedies. No, he's going the other way. Maybe he's going to go chase down the lady in her Cadillac. But, you know, I have a nice life, but it's nothing like I thought it was going to be. Look at this guy walking his border collie. Looks like Kris Kringle. There's a lot of guys around here that look like Kris Kringle. I don't know what that's all about. There's a Santa Claus fetish here in Cleveland. I want to look like Kris Kringle, grow a big long white beard and get fat. Yeah, that's original. But then if you have this perfect life where you went to college, you met the dream of your life, you got all this wisdom. I went to college and I didn't learn anything. I really didn't. As I've said in other videos, I still have classes to this day. I have no idea what they were about. Philosophy, for one. Philosophy was just a total shit show. My professor had a nervous breakdown halfway through the quarter. From what we were told, the man wet his pants in our class, and you know, I guess I learned a little bit in art history about art, but what good does that do me? I can walk into a gallery now and say, "Oh, I love this man's work. It's a bit like Monet, isn't it? And that one over there is a bit like Cezanne, I do say. Yes, the techniques of Mondrian. You know, I know a Mondrian from a Cezanne from a Picasso, but that, you know, that doesn't get you much in life. I know a few fancy things about psychology and just the sociology. I took some of those classes. It doesn't pay the bills though. So college was a waste of time. I didn't meet the love of my life in college. I met my wife years later. I met her in the year 2002, right before I was about to move to Phoenix. She was a manager of the bank branch I worked in. It wasn't a whirlwind romance. I love her. I care about her. You know, we're good friends. But, you know, I think my point is, I think a lot of people, another guy, what's up with you assholes zooming up to the intersection like you're Mario Andretti? I think a lot of people enter life thinking they're going to meet some wonderful person, and it's going to be the answer to everything, and there'll be no more problems after that. Life will only get better. Well, I can tell you from experience that relationships make life more complex in many cases. I mean, I dated hundreds of people before I got married. And I wouldn't want any of those ladies back. There's nobody that I'm going, you know, maybe I should have married her. No, they're in my past for a reason. I was running away from crazy for a long time. But I think a lot of people get really severely depressed because they think they're no good. They think they're losers because they don't have the 2,000 square foot house with the Subaru and the Mercedes in the driveway with the golden retriever and the gorgeous spouse and the great job. And I just don't think life works that way. I think my mom was right. Life doesn't work that way. I mean, she saw it firsthand. I mean, my mom married a man that was gorgeous. My dad was a damn good looking man. You know, it's like buying a car that looks great, but on the inside, the engine's a lemon. You know, my dad's engine was, you know, the engine block was cracked. He was leaking oil. And my dad was in bad shape on the inside, but on the outside, he looked great. And, you know, so everybody thinks they got to have these things, and the minute they don't get them, and I speak from experience. When I was younger and I was single, I was like, oh my God, all my friends are getting married. Oh, you know, I don't have the American dream yet. And then I got engaged to somebody before my wife. And like 2 weeks before the wedding, this girl goes, oh, how soon do you want to have kids? And I went, what? And we had never talked about having children. This is how retarded the two of us were. We didn't even talk about children. There was no discussion of raising, having a family at all. And I went, what, having kids? I went, what are you talking about? Children? You mean those little screaming, crying banshees that sit in a basket somewhere in the house? And she's like, yeah, I want to have kids right away, don't you? And I'm like, oh, sorry, I've got to go wash the cat. Oh, so I said to her, I said, don't you want to wait maybe a year before we have kids? She's like, no, I want to have kids right away. My biological clock is ticking. She gave me this whole fucking speech about her, how she's pushing 30 and she wants to have kids. And I'm like, I'm out of here. And, gotta be careful as I approach these intersections around these parts. So I called off that wedding, but we didn't even discuss kids. I mean, and I think a lot of people go into marriages thinking it's going to be glorious. They're going to have children. It's going to be glorious, and it's not. I have yet to see any glory coming from the raising of children, and we don't have children. I've never wanted to have children, and if the point to me bringing my ex-fiance was, I think it kind of was a slap in the face when she said, don't you want to have children? And I went, oh, wait a minute, I never even thought about that. I mean, we were so in love, we're so deeply in love, we just forgot to talk about having children. And then I realized at that moment, I really don't want to have children. I had no desire to have children, and I never have. I feel no remorse in my soul as I approach 60 that I don't have any glorious little cherubs in my life. None. Maybe if I live to be 90 and I'm alone and my wife's kicked the bucket and I need someone to care for me, you know, I'll regret it. I don't know right now, because I have a feeling, based off of the longevity of the men in my family, I'm probably not going to live more than another 20 years, if I'm lucky. So I'm not too worried about it. But I think a lot of people go into these relationships with these glorious ideas of how love is going to be, how nice it's going to be to have a baby, because all girls, all women think it's glorious. And it must be glorious to have a living human being in your belly, and you're giving birth to another human. It's going to be it's definitely something that men don't understand. There's no way you could ever wrap your head around it as a man. But I think a lot of people get depressed, and a lot of people say, well, I think it's the food you're eating. It's a lot of the food you're eating, and it's not the food you're eating. It's because you've got unrealistic expectations of what life is supposed to bring to you. Right? And so people get depressed. Oh, I'm going to kill myself because I don't have the gorgeous wife or the husband. I'm gonna go drive off the bridge because I don't have everything. But if you really look, and I think it's even worse now because of social media, because you get a snapshot in time of a family around the campfire while, you know, they're on vacation in Montana or something, but everybody smiles when the camera comes out. We got people doing what down here on the road? And I think people severely get messed up in the head because of this fairy tale we've all been sold. We've all been sold the fairy tale of happily ever after. What is with this park? It's not even 9 in the morning, and everybody is here. Oh, it's Cotton Top Day. I can't get away from the Cotton Tops. There's Cotton Tops that have a meetup group that walk together. I'm with Pete Townsend, or is it Pete Townsend or Daltrey that said, "Hope I die before I get old." Jesus, this sucks getting old. These you thought high school was bad. Wait till you start hanging around with old farts, Cotton Tops. But love it. I do say, let's go for a walk with our Cotton Top group. One good thing about a bridge being out is less traffic comes in from this side of the park. Oh, maybe I could park like that. I'm gonna have to straighten my ass out. It's cotton top day at the park. All right, go back a little bit more there, brother. And do any of you have this glorious life? I mean, I talk to lots of you on here from all over the world, mostly from the UK, but lots of people from Australia, the United Kingdom, a couple people from France. I don't have a glorious life. I mean, it's not a bad life, you know, but I don't know what other people have. You know, I know my neighbors. I've got a variety of neighbors. My next door neighbor is a divorcee, and she's taking care of her mother. Her mother has moved into her house, who's got Alzheimer's. My other neighbor is losing her eyesight. She didn't tell us why, but she's going blind. Another neighbor quit her job as a nurse because she hated it so much. Doesn't sound like a glorious life. And a guy across the street from us just bought his house 5 years ago, and now he's selling it. We don't know why. He hasn't really told anybody. We can only assume that he bought it when the rates were low and he had a 5-1 arm, and the arm is about to expire, and he can't afford the payments now that the rates are shooting up. But we don't know. I've got another neighbor who's probably about 15, maybe 10, 15 years older than me, and he's sick, and his wife's got Alzheimer's. You know, I can go on and on. My brother's got Parkinson's. These are all parts of life. This is, you know, you learn a lot from watching and having dogs, okay? You learn a lot from having a dog, because when you have a dog, especially if you raise it from a puppy till it passes, you see it go through all the stages of life just like humans do. You know, they're puppies, they're full of energy, they're having fun, they want to play. And then they get, you know, into their teens, and they get rambunctious and crazy, and they chew things up. And then they mellow out, like in their middle life, and then they start having health problems when they reach about the age of 8, 9, 10. And then it's all kind of downhill from there. Just how it works. Like for me, for my life, you know, now that I'm pushing 60, I can't even look at a carbohydrate without putting on 2 pounds. Like, look at this, my waddle is back. I somehow put on weight in the hospital. One night in the hospital, I put on weight. I weighed myself today, and I weighed 211. A week ago, I was 208, so somehow I put on 3 pounds in a week, and I know how I did it. I've been eating waffles and for breakfast with eggs, and a lot of bread, and a lot of juice, and a lot of sweet carbohydrates. And now I got to go back on the whole, you know, as you get older, you can't eat like you used to unless you want to end up being a big, huge, fat slob. You can't. That's not a glorious life. Now I have to watch everything I eat. I can't drink booze. I can't have beer. Because the minute I drink a beer, I just put on like all kinds of weight. And I've got friends that still drink pretty heavy. I've got friends that still drink, you know, they still drink beer, and they're still guzzling it down every night. And I don't know how they keep the weight off. One of my friends, he rides a bike and jogs. I think he rides a bike and jogs just so he can continue to drink beer. That's like a glorious life, working out every day of your life so you can still get drunk at night. It just seems a little bit of an issue there. But who has this glorious life? Look at this gut on me. This shirt was loose on me last summer. It's not loose now. So as you get older, you got to watch everything you eat. You've got to exercise. You've got to walk every day. You know, they say I'm supposed to only have like 2,000 calories at my age and my height and weight. I really probably only need 800. I could probably just eat lunch and be done with it. I don't even get hungry anymore. I eat now just because you have to eat. But no, I have friends that I used to get depressed when I couldn't find the one, the girl of my dreams. I was not finding her. She was vacant from my life, you know. And I have yet to meet anyone that comes up to me that I've known for years. Oh, Pete, I'm so happy in my marriage. I'm so happy. We've got the greatest kids. We got the greatest house. We have the nicest cars. We got a boatload of money in the bank. Everybody I know is in debt because they bought into the bullshit that you got to go out and buy the fancy car and get the expensive dog and everything. And you see this all the time on YouTube with these young people. They're like, how am I supposed to afford living downtown at $2,000 a month without a roommate? I've got an $800 car payment. What am I going to do? Well, you don't get the fancy car and you don't live downtown. You live in the suburbs for half the rent. Oh no, I can't do that. I've got to be somebody. I've got to be the upwardly mobile young person with a Mercedes SUV living in a townhouse in the middle of downtown Cleveland. Yes. It's all a lie. It is. And if you think I'm just being a crotchety old man, that's fine. Why have a negative view on things? Because I've lived a little while longer than some of you, and things don't turn out. Just like my mom said, life doesn't work that way. I can give you other examples, but it's just, does it exist? Are we chasing after Bigfoot? Aren't we chasing after the wind? Have you ever tried to catch the wind? I guess if you're Donovan, doesn't Donovan, the rock star from the 60s, have a song called Chasing the Wind or something like that? Got all these coins here in my seats. I'm surprised some homeless person isn't smash my windows to grab my change. But it's mostly pennies. And so I'm just out today and I'm thinking about it because it's like, okay, so who's got this magical life? You know, I live in an area of the country in the Midwest where most people are just scraping to get by. Most people here are just, you know, I don't even know if you can even call it blue collar anymore, but most people are working retail, schlepping drinks, working in a factory somewhere, if there's still factories. They're working at Walmart or Costco or Target. Like right here, it's all just low-end cars, except for the guy next to me who's got a Mercedes. But everything else is Toyotas and Chevys and Subarus and stuff. When I lived in Phoenix, every other car was a Mercedes or a BMW or a Tesla. Or, well, Tesla wasn't around back then, but you know what I mean, the fancy cars. The bottom line is when you live in this country, they tell you, oh, that's a Mazda, that's not a Mercedes. It's one of those Mazda sports cars. But they tell you, you gotta go out, find a gorgeous spouse, have ravenous sex every night of your life, be deeply in love all the time, have gorgeous kids that are brilliant and well-behaved, a golden retriever or a Labrador retriever, and then you're going to find this job in a glass tower somewhere where your boss is going to love you because you show up to work on time and stay late. And you're going to get raises and bonuses and you're going to live happily ever after. And I think a lot of people buy into it. We all do. We all buy into it. And then when we don't get it, we get depressed. And we've got to start realizing that life is just what it is. And they try to sell us stuff here because everything now is a product. Everything is a product. We've become the product. They got to figure out how to sell us on everything. They've got us eating junk that's poison. They've got us buying clothes we don't need. Dreaming about cars that we can't afford. Think that's going to make us happy. Think of all the people out there, you know, that have the car and the looks and all this stuff. I just wonder, does anybody have it? So leave me a note in the comments. Let me know if you found it. Because they've got us all chasing after Bigfoot. So I'm about to go compete with the cotton tops here in the park, on the paths here, as they shuffle around with their Nikons and their Canon cameras taking pictures of the bluebirds and the cardinals. I don't know, man. I'd rather, I'm getting older. I don't want to hang out with cotton tops. I mean, wouldn't that just be the most boring thing? Oh, look, there's a cardinal. I don't know. I have no desire to take pictures of cardinals and bluebirds, but I guess these people like it. I was heavily into photography when I first got into it for about 10, 15 years. So it's kind of lost its charm for me. Because nobody's buying photography. There's like 2 trillion pictures now taken since 2006. It's ridiculous. But anyway, if you've got the glorious life, let me know. Let me know how you met that person. Let me know how you found that perfect job. And that was the other thing they sold us when I was a kid. My dad is not a good example. But my dad could have retired from one of the papers he worked for. He was there for 18 years. But he was a booze hound, and he lost his job because he was philandering and drinking it up too much. But back in his day, in the early 70s, you got a job and you stayed there for 30, 40 years, and you retired with a pension. Those days are gone. I don't even know if my older brother, I think he retired from his company. I know he retired, but where he was working by the time he retired, I don't know. I've got an older brother-in-law. He moved companies a few times. One company he was working for was headquartered here in Cleveland, and they had massive layoffs, and they said, hey, you get laid off, or we'll move you to Anchorage, Alaska from Ohio. And he just had a kid and with my sister, and they said, we'll go to Alaska. And they went to Alaska, and they stayed there for a year. And I don't know what happened after that, but they've moved several times is my point, and he's changed careers. He's a boomer. And life is nothing like you think it's going to be. And I think the healthy way to get through it is to have a more realistic perspective, if it's possible, what to expect. Because like right now, my wife's got health issues, I've got health issues, and we don't know what the future holds. And that's not a glorious, happy life. It's just about how you handle it mentally. That's all you can do. Like when I had to have this surgery, I was horrified, but I made up my mind. 2 weeks before it, I said, I'm going to go do this. Just like when you go play sports, you're up against a better opponent, a stronger opponent, but you go up there and say, I'm going to fucking go beat these guys. When I played football, there were teams that were huge, a lot bigger than us. We got our asses handed to us, but you go out there knowing what you're up against, but you fight and scratch on every down to get through the game to win. Try to win. You think you're going to win. That's what I do with this surgery. I just made up my mind. I've got this phobia. I'm going to get through this phobia. I'm going to pee again. I'm going to pee again. I shall pee again. I don't know. I think a lot of depression in this country is from unrealistic expectations on life that are pushed upon us by marketing and advertising agents that try to sell us a dream that doesn't exist. And that's not being pessimistic. Look around you. And you'll see it if you're not old yet. You'll see your body will start to fall apart. There's nothing romantic about having a bad hip. I mean, I've got pain in my right hip. I've got pain in my knees. I've got a bad lower back. I just had the center of my prostate rotor-rooted out. But you go on. You just keep pushing forward. I always make the analogy of the Normandy beach landings. You hit those beaches, you can't just sit there in the sand while the crowds are shooting at you. You got to get off the sand. You got to get off the beach and go inland if you want to live. And I understand when I see that in the war movies, I get it. You're just sitting there in the sand, you're a sitting duck. You got to keep pushing forward. I've never been to war. I've never been to the military, but it's a good analogy. So I'm going to go do my walk and try to get my weight back down, because I am determined to start a new life with Skinnier Pete 2.0. And today I just had one egg and some coffee. with a little bit of cheese. And I'm fine with it. I'm full. So I don't know, if you got the glorious life they tell us we're supposed to have here, let me know. I'd like to know how you got it and how long it's been good for you, and if every day is like having your nipples tickled. All right, I'm gonna go for my walk, guys. Have a good day. Bye.